Have you ever felt that sudden tightness in your chest when someone says, "I'm coming over"? You smile. You say, "Yes, sure. Come by." But inside, your entire energetic field contracts. Inside, your brain whispers, "There goes my peace. There goes my frequency. There goes the carefully calibrated quantum field I've spent days rebuilding." If you know that feeling, trust me, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not antisocial. You might just be operating on a different dimensional wavelength than most people realize. And today, we're diving deep into the quantum psychology, the cosmic truth, the mystical reality of why some people hate having guests over, even when they even when they deeply love the people walking through the door. For some, hosting is fun. The laughter, the energy, the conversations bouncing off walls like particles of light. But for others, home is something entirely different. Something almost mystical. Home is sacred. It's the only place where the mask comes off, where the breathing gets deeper, where the world stops demanding something from you, where the universe finally allows you to exist without translation. And when someone enters that space, even a friend, even someone you care about deeply, something shifts on a quantum level. The air changes. The frequency alters. The silence, that precious, healing silence, breaks into 1,000 fragments. A gentle tension creeps in, weaving itself through the atmosphere like invisible threads. Not because you dislike the guest. Not at all. But because your sanctuary, your carefully constructed energetic temple, has been disturbed. The vibrational field you've been nurturing, protecting, building over days and weeks, suddenly reorganizes itself around another consciousness. So why does it feel like such a small invasion? Why does it feel like someone just walked into your soul wearing muddy shoes? Psychologically, spiritually, energetically, people who value solitude have something called territorial comfort. Their home isn't just a building made of walls and doors and windows. It's not just physical matter arranged in familiar patterns. Their home is their emotional reset button, their spiritual charging station, their quantum sanctuary where they don't just exist, they realign with their truest frequency. Every sound inside it, every object placed just so, every routine executed in the same sacred order. These aren't random choices. These are anchors. These are coordinates in the map of their inner universe. Things they control when the outside world feels uncontrollable. So when a guest arrives, the mind feels like a calm pond someone just dropped a pebble into. Nothing bad happens. The water doesn't disappear. But the ripples, the ripples change everything. They disturb the perfect mirror. They interrupt the reflection of sky meeting water. They fragment the stillness into circles upon circles of motion. And some people, some beautiful, sensitive souls, feel every single ripple like it's happening inside their chest. Think about it from a quantum perspective. Every person carries their own energetic signature, their own frequency, their own electromagnetic field that extends beyond their physical body into the space around them. When you're alone in your home, your energy expands freely. It fills every corner. It settles into equilibrium. It harmonizes with the walls, the furniture, the very air molecules surrounding you. But when another person enters, another consciousness with its own field, its own frequency, its own energetic demands, your field must suddenly compress, adjust, reorganize itself around this new presence. It's not personal. It's physics. It's the law of energy and space. Two fields cannot occupy the same territory without affecting each other. And for some people, that constant adjustment, that perpetual negotiation of energetic space, exhausts them on a level words can barely describe. Here's something deeper, something most people never consider. Some people use their home to recover from social energy. Out there, beyond their door, they're polite. They're aware. They're engaged. They're performing the carefully choreographed dance of social existence. They smile at the right moments. They nod at the appropriate intervals. They mirror body language. They modulate their voice. They read the room. They adjust their frequency to match the collective vibration. They're on, constantly on, like a transmitter broadcasting signals into the social universe. But inside their home, they finally get to stop performing. They get to stop translating their internal world into acceptable external expressions. They get to stop being a bridge between dimensions. So when a guest comes over, even one they love, even one they'd take a bullet for, the mask goes right back on. The performance resumes. The translation begins again. And that emotional effort, that spiritual labor, drains them quietly, invisibly, like a battery losing percentage in the background. Like trying to meditate while someone keeps asking you questions. The questions aren't bad. The person isn't bad. But the interruption to your inner silence, to your connection with something deeper, something ineffable, it costs you something precious. It costs you your alignment with yourself. Here's something most people never admit. Something that sounds almost cruel if you don't understand the mystical nature of solitude. Some of the nicest, warmest, most caring people feel the most profound relief the moment the door closes behind a guest. Not because they're rude, not because they're antisocial, not because they don't love the people who just left, but because silence feels like oxygen. Solitude feels like coming home to yourself after a long journey through someone else's reality. That moment when the door clicks shut, when you turn the lock, when you lean against the wood and exhale that breath you didn't realize you were holding. That moment is sacred. That moment is spiritual. It's like a diver breaking the surface of water after being submerged too long. Not because the water is bad, but because lungs need air. And some souls need solitude the way lungs need breath. Psychologists say these people often have strong emotional boundaries. Not walls. Boundaries. There's a cosmic difference. Walls keep everyone out. Boundaries protect what's sacred while still allowing connection. They don't push people away. They simply guard the spaces, the frequencies, the dimensions that help them stay whole. To them, home is not a stage. It's not a performance venue. It's not a place to be observed or evaluated or socially engaged with. Home is who they are when no one's watching. Home is their unedited consciousness. Home is the universe experiencing itself through their unique, unrepeatable perspective. That's why they prefer meeting friends in neutral places. Cafes where the energy belongs to no one and everyone. Parks where the earth absorbs everyone's frequency equally. Restaurants where the ambient noise creates a buffer between souls. Anywhere their inner world stays safely theirs. Anywhere they can engage without surrendering their sanctuary. Anywhere they can connect without contaminating their sacred space with residual energy. Because here's what most people don't understand. Energy lingers. Consciousness leaves traces. When someone spends time in your space, their frequency doesn't just disappear when they leave. It echoes. It reverberates. It leaves impressions in the energetic fabric of your home. And sensitive people, empathic people, people who operate on higher frequencies, they feel those echoes for hours, sometimes days afterward. They feel the emotional residue, the energetic footprints, the vibrational aftermath. It's like trying to sleep in a bed where someone else was just having an intense conversation. The words are gone, but something remains. Something unseen but deeply felt. And for some, This sensitivity comes from somewhere deeper, somewhere older, somewhere buried in the quantum memory of childhood. Childhood homes where guests meant stress, where visitors meant pressure, where someone knocking on the door meant chaos was about to unfold. Maybe it meant parents becoming different people, performing for company. Maybe it meant children being told to be quiet, be good, be invisible. Maybe it meant the home transforming from a safe space into a theater of judgment. Maybe it meant unpredictability, never knowing if guests would bring laughter or tension, joy or criticism, peace or invasion. So now, even as adults, even decades later, even in their own homes with their own rules, visitors activate old tension they never asked for. Ancient alarm systems that were installed before they even had words for what they were feeling. The body remembers. The nervous system remembers. The soul remembers. And when someone says, "I'm coming over," every cell in their body whispers, "Brace yourself." The performance begins. The sanctuary ends. It's not logical. It's not conscious. It's quantum memory encoded in the very fabric of their being. But here's the important part. Here's the cosmic truth that needs to be said loudly, clearly, without apology. There is nothing wrong with wanting to protect your space. Nothing broken. Nothing selfish. Nothing immature or antisocial or damaged about it. You can love people deeply, unconditionally, cosmically, and still crave solitude. You can care for others with the intensity of 1,000 suns and still guard your peace like a dragon guards treasure. Because for some souls, peace isn't just preferable. It's necessary. It's not luxury. It's survival. For some, the truest form of comfort is a quiet room. A familiar chair positioned exactly where the light falls just right. A cup of tea cooling to the perfect temperature. And the gentle hum of their own thoughts flowing freely without interruption. That's not isolation. That's integration. That's a soul reconnecting with its source. That's consciousness remembering what it feels like to exist without defending, explaining, or translating itself. Here's something the universe taught me, something that took years to understand. Not everyone is meant to connect the same way. Not everyone is meant to love the same way. Not everyone is meant to share space the same way. Some people fill their homes with bodies and voices and laughter and chaos, and that's how they feel alive. That's their frequency. That's their sacred expression of love and connection. But others need silence to feel safe, need solitude to feel whole, need emptiness to feel full. And both are valid, both are sacred, both are divine expressions of the infinite ways consciousness experiences itself. The problem is when we judge one way as more loving than the other. When we decide that filling your home with people means you're generous and warm, and protecting your solitude means you're cold and distant. That's not truth. That's just misunderstanding dressed up as morality. Some of the most loving people I've ever met rarely invite others into their physical homes, but they'll invite you into their hearts without hesitation. They'll sit with you for hours in a cafe, holding space for your pain. They'll text you at 3 a.m. when you're falling apart. They'll show up for you in every way that matters. They just won't do it in the place where they go to remember who they are when the world isn't watching. And if you're an empath, if you're someone who feels other people's emotions like they're your own, this goes even deeper. Empaths don't just notice energy. They absorb it. They become it. They carry it in their bodies like physical weight. When someone walks into their home feeling anxious, the empath feels that anxiety infiltrate their sanctuary. When someone arrives carrying sadness, that sadness settles into the empath's furniture, their walls, their very breathing. And it's not the guest's fault. The guest didn't do anything wrong. They're just existing, just being human, just carrying whatever they're carrying. But the empath's system doesn't distinguish between their emotions and everyone else's. Their boundaries, on an energetic level, are more permeable than most people's, more porous, more vulnerable to infiltration. So having guests over isn't just social effort for them. It's energetic labor. It's spiritual housekeeping that continues long after the physical person has left. They have to clear the space, burn sage, open windows, reclaim their frequency, reestablish their baseline, return their sanctuary to equilibrium. And that work, that invisible, unacknowledged work, exhausts them in ways people who don't feel energy can't comprehend. From a quantum perspective, your home is a field, an electromagnetic, emotional, spiritual field that you create with your consciousness. Every thought you think there, every emotion you feel there, every intention you set there, they all contribute to the vibrational signature of that space. When you spend time alone in your home, you're essentially tuning that field to your unique frequency. You're creating coherence between your internal state and your external environment. Scientists studying quantum fields talk about something called resonance. When two systems vibrate at compatible frequencies, they amplify each other. They create harmony. They strengthen each other's signal. That's what happens when you're alone in your sanctuary. Your consciousness resonates with the space. The space reflects your consciousness back to you. You create a feedback loop of coherence, of alignment, of peace. But when another consciousness enters, especially one operating on a very different frequency, that coherence breaks. The field fragments. The resonance disrupts. The mirror cracks. And reestablishing that coherence after someone leaves, that takes time, energy, intentional effort. It's not instantaneous. You can't just flip a switch and return to center. You have to rebuild it, brick by energetic brick, thought by conscious thought. So here's what people who hate having guests over need to hear, need to really absorb into their consciousness. Saying no is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's honesty. It's respecting your energetic truth. I'd love to see you, but let's meet somewhere else. That's not rejection. That's boundary setting. That's self-care. That's spiritual maturity. You don't owe anyone access to your sanctuary. You don't owe anyone permission to disrupt your peace. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you need your home to remain yours alone. The people who truly love you will understand. They'll respect it. They'll meet you in the in-between spaces without making you feel guilty about protecting what's sacred. And the people who can't understand, who take it personally, who insist that real friendship means open-door policy at all times, those people are asking you to sacrifice your peace for their comfort, to abandon your truth for their expectations, to betray your nature to satisfy their idea of how connection should look. And that's not love. That's colonization of your sacred space. Here's something beautiful to consider. Hospitality isn't just about opening your physical home. Hospitality is about creating space for someone. And that space can be anywhere. You can be incredibly hospitable in a park, sitting on grass, sharing snacks, holding deep conversation while the universe unfolds around you. You can be deeply generous in a coffee shop, buying someone a drink, listening to their story, seeing them fully in a neutral space where both your energies can coexist without compromise. You can be profoundly loving on a walk, moving side by side through the world, sharing presence without the pressure of walls and doors and the vulnerability of letting someone into the place where you're most yourself. Some of the most meaningful connections I've experienced happened in spaces that belonged to no one, where we could meet as equals, both slightly outside our comfort zones, both slightly performing, both slightly protected. And there's beauty in that. There's honesty in that. There's respect in that. So if you're someone who hates having guests over, if you're someone who reads this and feels seen for the first time, if you're someone who's spent years feeling guilty about this preference, hear this. You are not broken. You are not selfish. You are not wrong. You're just someone who understands on a soul level that peace is precious, that solitude is sacred, that your home is not a public space, but a private universe where you get to exist without translation. And that's not just okay. That's beautiful. That's wise. That's honoring the quantum truth of who you are. The world is loud enough. The world is crowded enough. The world demands enough from you every single day. You don't owe it your sanctuary to. Let me give you permission you might not realize you need. You are allowed to love people and still need space from them. You are allowed to care deeply and still protect your solitude fiercely. You are allowed to be kind, generous, loving, and still say, "Not in my home." Your home is the only place in this entire universe that's truly, completely yours. The only space where you get to set all the rules, where you get to determine the frequency, where you get to decide who enters and who doesn't. And using that power, exercising that sovereignty, choosing to keep that space sacred and undisturbed, that's not selfishness. That's self-respect. That's understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup, that you cannot give others your best energy if you never get to return to the place where that energy regenerates. That's quantum wisdom. That's spiritual intelligence. That's honoring the physics of your own consciousness. So tell me, are you like this too? Do you feel that chest-tightening moment when someone says they're coming over? Do you love people deeply, but need your home to remain your sanctuary alone? Drop your experience in the comments. Tell me your truth. Share your story. Because I promise you, there are others watching this who need to know they're not alone in feeling this way. And if this resonated with you, if this put words to something you felt but couldn't express, I'd be deeply grateful if you'd hit that subscribe button. Tap that notification bell. Give this video a like. Not for the algorithm, though that helps us reach others who need to hear this, but because every time you engage, you're telling the universe, this message matters. This truth needs to be spread. These souls need to be seen. Share this video with someone who might need it. Someone who's been feeling guilty about wanting to protect their peace. Someone who's been apologizing for having boundaries. Someone who needs permission to honor their energetic truth. We explain everyday habits through a cosmic, quantum, mystical lens here, and I think you'll find that perspective shifts everything. We dive deep. We question assumptions. We explore the spiritual physics of human experience. And if you're someone who thinks differently, who feels deeply, who operates on a frequency most people don't understand, you belong here. This community sees you. This space honors you. Your solitude is sacred. Your peace is precious. Your sanctuary is yours to protect. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for honoring your truth. See you in the next one, beautiful soul. Until then, protect your peace, guard your frequency, and never apologize for knowing what your spirit needs to stay whole.